Hi everyone, and welcome to another Shelly Loves to Paint. We are continuing on with our series for the holidays in 2025, and we are going to be doing this beautiful Christmas candle tonight. Or today, whenever you happen to be looking and watching this. So I have put out my colors, and remember always you can get your pattern for the pattern related paintings. It's pinned with a link in the top of the comments on this video, and you just want to go follow that link, download it. It's an 8x10 pattern, print it out, and you can transfer that to an 8x10 canvas, or you can enlarge it if you would like, if you know how to do that. Okay, so let's get started. This candle has a beautiful glowing green background, okay, and then it's surrounded by green holly leaves on a beautiful gold candle holder. And so this is not going to be difficult to do. It's just going to be a little color blending to get the background in. And I'm going to share with you a few little tips on how to make that gold shine on the candle holder. So first of all, let's go through the colors that I've laid out here. I've got Thicket, Prussian blue, Wicker white, and these are all multi-surface colors by Plaid FolkArt. All right, a few of them are matte colors. So we have yellow ochre, then we have asphaltum, which is a matte color, all right, but also Plaid FolkArt. Then we have apple red, classic green, teal, citrus green, a little moon yellow for the candle wick, or for the flame, excuse me, and then some licorice, all right. So we have floating medium here in the center, and once we get everything done, we're ready to do the gold on our candle holder. I'm going to be using the Treasure Gold color. Okay, so I'm going to put that out when we're closer to being ready to do that. Okay. First thing is I'm going to be working with a 1-inch flat Donna Dewberry 1-stroke brush. I'm going to get that damp, lay it on paper towel, and then we're ready to start. So the background is a dark green background, and it's got some blue tones to it. So I'm going to share with you how we're going to get that, and it's going to take a little application to do it, but this is how we're going to go about it. So first thing is I'm going to pick up a lot of Thicket on this brush, and I'm going to go around my candle. All right, I'm going to go right up to that edge around the candle holder. And then we can start to kind of slip slap that right side of the candle. All right, we just want to go away from the edges of our candle itself, just to kind of keep that looking fairly pristine. And we don't have any odd colors showing up on the edges, okay? So continuing around, and on a wrapped canvas, you always want to go and get the edges as well. So you can just come right through here. This is just the start of the coloring on the background. So we're just getting Thicket right now all over. Okay, and we'll come down here. I try to keep a wet edge when I'm doing this. So I don't want to take the whole time to go all the way around the candle and then start doing some of the slip slapping. You kind of have to do it both at the same time. So you go a little ways around the candle, slip slap into the area that you're next to, that you just outlined, and then continuing on, you kind of address that process around the whole outside edge of what you're avoiding. All right, so I'm just keeping that wet paint edge. So now up here, I'm going to come and get more of that color in there. Keep picking up that Thicket. And we're going to go right down the edge of the candle on the left side now. And I keep a damp, clean, flat brush handy in case I need to wipe off quickly before it dries. You can do that if you happen to accidentally go over the edge that you're trying to avoid. Okay. So we'll go around the rest of this and we'll finish that off. There. And you could have used a sponge painter with this. Some of you might be asking that. And you could have, but it would have been kind of difficult to get around the edges, as I just showed you. So this is a good way to do it, just to get that kind of background color in there. Okay, so we've got this overall dark green. And I'm just slip slapping in all different directions. And now I don't have to worry about getting too close to my mid subject here. All right, now with that same brush, I'm going to go ahead and pick up more Thicket, and then I'm going to grab a bunch of Prussian blue with that. And so we're going to come around this outside. More Prussian and Thicket, work it together. It's going to darken the Thicket to a little bit darker shade with a blue tone to it. So hopefully that's coming through. I know there's a glare because the paint is wet. It tends to glare. And then more of that Prussian. So you can kind of see I'm leaving a lighter area around the candle body itself and the candle stand. And the table here. Right. And so the shadow, there's going to be a shadow that's cast behind the candle. Let's get a little more of that Prussian and Thicket right over here. On this right side, so the light is coming from the left and also from the candle. Okay. And keeping that movement with the brush. There we go. All right, now this is sitting obviously on something, so it's on a table. And so over in this lower left, or right, excuse me, we want that even darker. All right, so I'm going to wipe off my brush and we're going to still work with the Thicket and Prussian. I shouldn't have wiped that off. And then we're going to get a touch of Licorice, just a little. This is a very strong color. All right. And let me just see if I can slide this so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so a little bit of Licorice over here and underneath. So we've got a lot of color we're working with here. All right, so this is dark up here on the right side. And I'm just kind of laying that color in. I'm not pushing real hard with my brush because I don't want to dig in and lift. So see, I'm kind of laying the flat of the brush. And it's important that you keep picking up the Thicket with the Licorice so that it still has that green tone to it, okay? So that's pretty good right there on that side. And then I'm going to come around this side on the lower half of the design. Okay, just to create some dark back in this, right where the pinch point is on this whole candle holder. It's dark right back in here because that's furthest away. And then it's going to get light as it comes forward in the lower left corner and around the back of the candle. Okay, so just a little bit of that black right in there. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see without the glare how dark this is right in here. So it's dark in this corner and across this section right here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put that brush in the water, and we're going to switch to a lighter shade of green around the candle itself and around the flame area too. Okay, so let me get paint off my thumb. Okay, so back with this 1-inch flat now. We're going to come to this classic green right here. I'm just going to grab a little bit of that and work that into my brush. All right, and then let's get a little bit of this yellow ochre. So it's got a little bit of a yellow tint to it. All right, and we're going to come in this area here with that color. We're going to slip slap now in this light green glow and let that kind of slightly blend out with the Thicket. So you're taking the corner of the brush and slip slapping to loosely blend this area. Let's move this over here. All right, so that's classic green with a little bit of yellow ochre right in here. Okay. And that goes all the way around, kind of out into the wall area here and above where the candle flame is going to be. All right, and then with that same brush, I can pick up a little more of that Thicket. And with the corner, you just kind of work in those two colors. Get a little bit of that Prussian blue in there too, right? Work in those two colors. You can flip the brush with the lighter corner. All right, and then I think I'm just going to let that be for now. If I need to float in some more light color or dark color after this all dries, then I will, but I think that's good for now. So that's our background. Let me just finish up our table in the front here, and then we'll be in business to work on our candles. So coming back to this Thicket, right, I'm going to get a little bit of white, and that Prussian blue, and just kind of brush mix on the corner of the brush. And we're going to come right in here. Okay, and we'll create this tabletop that kind of disappears into the back shadows on the left. I know my sides and my directions. Okay. And we'll come across the front here. A little bit more white worked in with that Thicket and Prussian. Okay. And you just kind of let that trail off just a little bit right there into that dark. You got to be careful because it's going to start to pick up that black and you don't want that. Okay. Right back in there. And then if you need to, you can come back to the Thicket with that little bit of black right back here and kind of work those two colors together. There. Okay, so wipe off, get a little bit of that white. There. That's better. I like that better. Okay, so I'm just kind of sweeping a little bit. Maybe not quite so much slip slap in that area. It's in the foreground, so it's a little stronger, smoother. A little bit of that Prussian blue in there, and then trail that off. And I think we'll be good right there. Okay. All right, very nice. So we've got our glow around our candle and our dark green, a dramatic looking background, and we're ready to work on the candle itself. So clean that brush. This is still the 1-inch flat, and we're ready to go to our candle colors and kind of get that based in. So I'm going to work with the yellow ochre and white together and work those two colors to a paler yellow wax color. Okay, and then once I get that, then I can kind of double load a little bit stronger yellow ochre on the one side, on the right side of my brush. Okay, so we're going to come right up here to the top of our candle, and we're going to do a little oval right there in the top. Okay, and I want to flip the brush and just make it a little bit darker in the center there. So the outside edge is whiter, lighter, and the inside is that darker wax color. All right, then continuing with the brush with the yellow ochre stronger on the right hand side, we're going to come down. Nice and straight. And then we'll keep working over to the left with the lightest edge on the left hand side. Okay. There. So real pretty candle color. And we're done with that brush. And then I'm going to finish filling in our color on the canvas with a smaller, this is a 12 flat. Get that damp, lay it on paper towel, and I'm going to just load it with all yellow ochre. Okay. And so when you're doing something in gold, you need for metallics, which are usually transparent, you need a stronger undercolor that's similar in shade. And so I'm going to use yellow ochre as the underneath color for our candle holder. And we're just going to base in this whole candlestick. Once we get that based in, then we can apply some shading techniques to darken some areas so that when we put the gold over, it will have that shadowing underneath the gold color instead of on top of it. And we might finish off with a little more shadow or shading floating on top of the gold, but you want that at least as your base to have the proper shading before you apply the metallic. This has a real pretty foot on it. Okay, so finish that. All right, so now, like I was saying, I want to go ahead and with that same loaded brush, we're going to use the Asphaltum, which is a really nice color to shade with for gold, okay, as our darker color. And the darker side of this is going to be primarily on the right. All right, and on the inside of this holder. Probably need the smaller brush right there, but that's okay. All right, so you're going dark inside with just the edge kind of being light. And then we're going to come across on the flat. And you may have to do it a few times to get all the way across, about halfway, maybe a little less than that. A lot of this is going to be underneath the leaves on this upper part, so you don't have to worry too much. Like right in here, what I just did, you're not going to see that anyways, because there's going to be holly leaf kind of ring around the top. Okay. This is still pretty wet down here, but all right, so we're going to bring this down, and this is comes down and out. Right, so about almost halfway across, a little less than halfway, about a third maybe. And then we'll come underneath here. I am going to come across this way, just darken this up a little bit so that when we put the gold on top, it'll look more appropriately toned. The leaves are going to go over the top of that. So chisel on each of these round curved areas. So you've side loaded the asphaltum and you're coming on the chisel edge. To kind of dig that out, okay? And then along the bottom here, you can give it a little bit of a curve as you come through. It's got a little bit of a scallop. If you look at the final picture, you'll see there's just a slight scallop in the bottom there. Okay. Oh, and then right here, chisel. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry. We may have to hit it with a dryer here if it's not dry in time to put the gold on top. So in the meantime, we'll work on our candle. So I'm going to go ahead and get my script liner. I got that damp. I'm going to first get Licorice. right on the tip. We're going to come right here in the center of our candle, right in the middle, and we're going to touch and pull up a wick. Okay. Clean that brush off and then pick up a little bit of white on the tip of the candle, and you can kind of tap that in around where the wick is coming out, right? Just for a little bit of a highlight. You can get a little bit more with the white, get some yellow ochre. And we're going to come, I think I need a little bit more white. So we're going to create a little drip down this edge, right? So it's just a little highlight there. And you want that straight. All right, now we can get a little more of the yellow ochre on that brush and do right here, a little drip with a push and pull it up, push and pull it up. I'm going to come right up to the edge here. Now I think with that one on the right hand side, it needs a little bit darker. I'm going to get some of that asphaltum. There we go. Just to kind of emphasize the shadow, so it lifts it up a little bit, makes it look like a wax running down, wax drip. We're going to do more to this. This is just getting ready for that, okay? All right, wipe that off. Let's come back to our white with a little bit of yellow ochre. And we're going to do another one right here. We're going to add the drips at the bottom with a flat brush, but we just need this to start. All right, and then on the side, you'll see a little bit of a run down. A bit of yellow ochre and white. Right, see that little drip? And you want the white on a little highlight right there, see that? And we'll do a couple more. Let's do a pull here. Right, so that's yellow ochre and white, and then we'll do one last one right there, coming right over the edge. Okay, now I'm going to take that white again on the tip of the brush, and you can come right across the front of that candle edge with the white, just a little highlight. Across the back as well. Okay. All right, now I have a 2 flat. I'm going to get that damp, and we can get our white here. All right, and we can come right inside the drip that we did here, and you can add a little highlight with a single stroke. Push and stand up to get that. Maybe get a little bit of yellow ochre on there as well. There we go. A little white. There. Okay, so it's just looking like wax running down on that side. You can get a little bit of that asphaltum again. On the right hand side, it creates a little bit of a shadow. There. Okay. right, so that's our wax on our candle. And then to finish the candle itself, yeah, I think that's pretty dry. Got a 6 flat here. Get that damp. And we're going to load that with the moon yellow. First, we're going to come right down here around that wick and push and lift. A little more of that moon yellow. Let's side stroke a little bit of white, right? And we can come right on that side of it. There we go. Just kind of lighten that up a little bit. There. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now, let's see what our, yeah, that's dry, so that's nice. So I can take my 12 flat, load it with some medium, and we can come and side load some of that moon yellow. All right, and we're going to float a little glow around the edge of the flame. See that? On either side. A little more of that yellow. There. I get just a little bit of white and come right back in here. Okay. All right, so I think we are ready to work on our gold. And this is close to dry, but I'm just going to hit it real quick with my heat tool here just to dry it completely. So I'm going to put out on a clean plate here some treasure gold. We'll just set that aside for a minute. So this is gold, treasure gold. And we'll take that 12 flat again. All right, and we're going to come just right over the whole thing with a nice thin layer of gold. And you'll see that you'll see right through. So you'll see those dark and light areas I mentioned. And so the thing is with candle holders with all these curves on them is you have to do more shading to bring out the depth and the extra detail. So once we get this gold on here, then I'll show you what we're going to do for that. I'm not picking up a lot of this because it is a strong metallic. It has a little extra opacity to it. So there you can see it's kind of flat looking in terms of what I've just put it over. Now, what we can do is start adding that extra, but it's just going to build on what's already behind it. Okay, so we're going to take that same loaded brush and we can come, I'm not going to add any more gold to it, but I'm going to come and side stroke some of this asphaltum. Okay. And working kind of from the bottom up. I think I need that on this plate. There. I will add that gold to it. I think that needs it to help it move. It's either that or medium, and I don't want medium because it'll actually dig out the gold color I just put on there. So this asphaltum is really nice for shading gold. All right, and we're just going to continue to add that dark curve along here. So I'm tilting it so you can kind of see the accent or the different layers or lines where this shading goes. Okay, and we're going to come underneath that curve right there. You're keeping the gold to the bottom and the shade color goes up under the next section. And if we have to, we'll put more gold back on, but there. So see that detail there? Now on this little section here, it's slightly different. It's got scallops in it, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to chisel on the curve straight and then curve right, just to kind of simulate those marks there. And then we'll come right back through here and shade to the right side. Pretty heavy under here. There. We need a little bit more of that asphaltum. Okay, so see all that pretty shading we just did? And then what you can do is with that same, let's clean that brush off. Load it with the gold again. And then we can come and side stroke a little bit of white, just a little. Okay, and we can come right through here. Flip the brush. And you're kind of floating and also blending. A little highlight along the curves there. So you see that little glow. And then we can come along here Okay, maybe a little bit one right there and a little out here. I'm going to add just a touch of that moon yellow with that white. I feel like that needs to be more of a yellow glow, not a white glow right there. That's better. Flip the brush over and pat it. That's a little more natural looking, don't you think? So let's come back over these white areas just with the corner of the brush. And we'll yellow those up a little bit. That's better. Oh, I like that. Okay, now to finish off this candle holder, I'm going to take this 2 flat, get a little bit of medium and a little bit of this asphaltum. And we can do some detail lines in there. Under here. Right, and then I like to do a little bit of kind of scroll work in here, but it's very subtle. So you're going to come down through here. Need more of that. So down through here. It's like a little scallop there. And it goes around the curve right there. And then down there. And then we can do little marks down here. Just to kind of give the impression that there's some sort of little details on there, but it's not real apparent. Right, just little dark marks. You can get a little bit of gold in there and add some highlight. See that? Let's get a little bit of that dark right in here. There. Right, and then same thing on this little bowl. Maybe do a little curve. Wipe that off. Okay, so these are just little curved strokes, little scallops or scrolls. All right, I'm liking that. I think that looks really pretty, guys. Let's just finish this off with a little bit of a highlight. Get some of that yellow. And right here on the top of that, that little curve right there, and that little curve right there. Maybe just a little touch of white with it. I'll make it look like the light's hitting it. There. Okay, I think we got some really good detail on there. And that's what I wanted you guys to get from this, was how to get some of this pretty detail. Now, to finish off this whole design, we're going to take our 12 flap and, oh no, I'm sorry. We're going to use an angle brush. This is a 5/8 inch angle brush. We're going to get that damp. And we're going to, let's see, now when I stroke, right. So the heel needs to be the lighter color. We're going to do holly leaves, but we're going to use citrus green and teal as our base. All right, let's get a little bit of that classic green and work that into our teal. Yeah, these are going to be bright, especially against this darker background. All right, and we want that light edge on the toe, or excuse me, on the heel. So as we draw that to the points in the holly, I'm going to add just a little bit of white to brighten that up. All right, so you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's say right back here first, right? We're going to come from behind and we're going to go to a point, point, and then tip. Okay. All right, and then we can rotate this a little bit and we'll come from here, point, 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 and tip. So see that the center of the leaf kind of blends in with the background color. All right, so that's the color process. We're just going to keep working with that. And let's get just a little bit of Thicket worked in with that teal instead of that classic green. Maybe get that a little bit darker and some white with that outside edge. Okay, so we're going to come right in here from the bowl and do another one. So the toe is in the center and the heel is what's making the points. Okay. Now, when you want to do a stem, though, that gets a little tricky. So I'm going to do all the stems with a liner this time. All right. So let's do the other ones from the back. We'll come right up here. Point that up. Okay, so it just looks like they're coming out from around the back side of it. Now let's come down here and underneath here, and then we'll layer the ones in the front on top of that. A little bit of that Thicket in there. Darken these up just a little bit, still with the teal, blending in some Thicket, and then the citrus green on the heel with a little bit of white. There we go. Okay, so underneath here, we're going to come down. We're going to slide to the point each time, but we're going to roll this around to a curve like that. Okay, and then on the other side, let's turn it so you can see. This side's going to be wider. So we're going in and then stand to the point. So it gives you a real pretty angle on that holly. Okay, and we'll add another little one out here. And just kind of overlap that a little bit there. That white again. All right, and let's come underneath now. So right from here, like it's rolling out from the edge there. So it's flat, point, you're bringing it around and standing it up. A little more Thicket. Right, we'll do another one from underneath here. And this one's going to roll this way. put a little lighter color on this edge. Pressure, pressure, stand up. See how pretty that is popping around the base of that candle? All right, so let's lay one here. Maybe pop a little bit of one up here. There. And we'll come across this way. And I think I need a little bit of white right there. Help that stand out. There we go. So I'm leaving this kind of exposed right there. We can do another little guy right in here. Right. And then I think that's pretty good. Maybe let's put one right here. Just a little piece of one. I probably should have put that first, but I can come back in and restroke this one. There, so that it comes right over the top of it. Oh, that looks really nice. See how pretty? All right, so that's all our holly. Now I'm going to come in with my liner, and I'm going to get some lighter color. So we want the citrus and maybe some white. And we'll come in the center and then out to the point. Now I've got too much color on there. There we go. I'm picking up all that heavy center color on the tip. So that's why we usually don't tell you to do script liner. But in this case, it's tough to get that center color in there from the toe or the heel of the angle brush. So you kind of do it this way. So this is really heavy right in here. We'll just take that right out, wipe it off, and come back with our light color. There. Okay. All right, I think that's good. Now we can get our 1/4 inch dauber here, and I'm going to load, I got way too much red here, but I'm going to load that with this red, and then I'm going to get one edge of it into the classic green to get a darker value. Blend it pretty good. It'll turn it kind of a darker shade of red. I'm just tapping it to blend it into that darker color. All right, and we can come right in here. We're just going to do a few little berry sets right there. A little more red. Right, and then we'll do another little grouping of 3. Oops, I need more red. That's too green. Right there, there, and there. All right, now if you want to add just a little bit of highlight, you can go just tiny touch of white on the red edge. Work that in, and you can lightly touch it. You can do a little too tiny of a touch. It's a little bit more. All right, so that just pops a little bit of a highlight in there. There. Okay, that opens them up a little bit. All right, now just to finish this off with some shading, okay, we can take our 12 flat with some medium and let's side stroke. First of all, I'm going to look and see if there's any spots around my, I think I want to get my licorice here, okay? So we're going to side load this licorice. All right, and we can come right up under here and kind of refine the shape of our candle holder and float around it. You can come and create that little scallop better on the bottom. Up, down, up, up. All right, and that just kind of sets it on that tabletop too. Okay. And let's come up underneath this holder here, or this edge. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to get some Thicket with that color. And we can come along this edge of our candle if we need to kind of refine that. Okay, and then you can just look at your background color and see if you need to kind of soften that or anything. I feel like I want to come in with my big brush again, get a little more of that Thicket with the Prussian, right? Because I can see a lot of those brush marks there. And now that it's dry, you can do a much better job of kind of removing a lot of that brush mark movement. Yeah, that looks better. So Prussian and Thicket. There, it softens that up a little bit. And then you can even come back to the classic green with the yellow ochre. Right in here. And come from where the flame is and kind of sweep that out. Right, and reinforce that glow into that wet edge of the dark. And that looks pretty good. And you just work the two colors around that wet edge. There. Now that looks much nicer. Okay. Right. And let me just get a little bit of that white with the Prussian Thicket blend here, and we can come right across our table. Side load just a little bit of that black on this back corner. There, that looks nice. Okay, guys, I think we've got ourselves a real beautiful project here. Let's go ahead, take a look here, and I'm really liking that color. All right, so let's get some inky, I think citrus green. And we'll come right down here in the corner and sign it. And there you go. A little bit longer lesson this time, but I think there's a lot learned here, and I hope you enjoyed it. So there's our beautiful green background Christmas candle. Hope you'll give it a try. Please make sure if you enjoyed this lesson, give me a thumbs up. Really need those thumbs up to keep and help our channel grow and get in front of more people like yourself. Make sure you're subscribing, ringing the bell, and come back and visit me again for another beautiful holiday design next time. We'll see you soon. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.